We often hear the phrase, Sharia law is oppressive. It's presented as something alien, harsh, backward, incompatible with modern values. But here's a truth that rarely gets said out loud. Sharia law is almost identical to early Christian law. Let's start with money, specifically interest. Under Sharia, charging interest on loans, what's called riba, is forbidden. It's considered exploitation of the poor. Now listen to how Jesus responded to the same practice. He didn't just disagree with it, he stormed into the temple, flipped over the moneylenders' tables, and drove them out with a whip. He called them thieves who turned a house of prayer into a den of robbers. Sharia bans interest. Jesus condemned it violently. What about adultery? In Sharia, it's a punishable crime. Harshly so. But look back in time. Christian law treated adultery the same way. For centuries, adultery in Christian Europe was a criminal offense. Punishments ranged from public shaming to whipping, exile, even death. Even the Puritans, those early settlers of America, handed out the death penalty for adultery. It wasn't just frowned upon, it was prosecuted. And modesty? Sharia commands both men and women to dress modestly. Women are expected to cover their hair and wear loose clothing. Sound foreign? Maybe not. In traditional Christianity, modesty was deeply ingrained too. For over 1900 years, Christian women wore veils to church. Why? Because Paul said so. In 1 Corinthians, a woman ought to cover her head as a sign of authority. He also wrote, dress modestly, with decency and propriety. This wasn't just scripture, it was culture. From medieval Europe to Victorian England, modest dress wasn't a choice. It was law, enforced by both state and church. Let's talk about punishments. Sharia law prescribes corporal punishments, flogging, stoning, even execution for certain crimes. It shocks modern audiences, but go read Deuteronomy or Leviticus or Exodus. Stone the adulterer, kill the sorcerer. If a man lies with another man, they must both be put to death. Cut off the hand of the thief. These are not unique to Islam. These were divine commands in early Christian law. In fact, they were enforced for centuries. Burnings, hangings, amputations, all in the name of Christian morality. Here's the part no one wants to admit. The laws of Sharia weren't born in a vacuum. They're not foreign to Judeo-Christian tradition. They're its continuation. Sharia stayed close to its source. Christian law? It changed. Not because of some divine revelation, but because of politics, power, empires rising and falling, reformations, enlightenments, colonialism. Laws were bent, edited, watered down, or scrapped entirely to fit new agendas. Faith was modernized, rebranded. So before you point a finger and label Sharia as extreme, take a moment, look back at your own tradition. Ask, is Sharia extreme, or is it just what your religion used to be before the edits?